I'm standing outside 770, the world headquarters of Chabad, the place where I spent many of my formative years studying in yeshiva and learning and drinking deeply from the teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the inspiration and who gave me the directive to return to South Africa and to get involved with communal responsibilities. I'm here for a bris of a grandchild, please God, taking place on Shabbos. May we all have the opportunity to share smachot, happy events in our lives. So this Shabbat we talk about the beginning of the end of Egypt. Egypt, which had incarcerated the entire Jewish people, enslaved us, and decreed terrible decrees against us, begin to be dismantled by the process of the 10 plagues which begin this week. And everything about the story seems to center around the river Nile. Firstly, it was Pharaoh who had the dreams of the emaciated cows, the 7 cows consuming the 7 fat cows. And where did that happen? That happened at the river. And then there was the decree against the Jewish people, which was that God forbid each Jewish child would be thrown into the river to be killed. And then there was Moshe Rabbeinu, who got his name Moshe because Moshe means to be drawn out of the river. And when Moshe Rabbeinu was given the responsibility of leadership and goes and speaks to Pharaoh, the Torah tells us that where did he speak to Pharaoh? He spoke to him at the river. And then the first plagues, both the river turning to blood and the frogs that emerged from the river, everything seems to happen at the river. Why is the river so dominant in the story of slavery and emancipation? Well, the river represented the self-centeredness of a society, Egypt, which believed that everything would be taken care of by their own strength. They were self-sufficient, they were smug. The river flooded every single year. They didn't depend on rainfall. They never ever to worry about whether there would be rain because everything was supplied by the river. And so they turned against God, and Pharaoh ultimately said, Ani Ya'ir, I am the river, I am the state, I am the power with which we are self-sufficient and don't have to worry about a power bigger than ourselves. And we can determine the fate of others exactly as we will it. And so the story began that they suspected that the Jewish people had intentions to undermine Egypt, that they wanted to join with enemies to destroy Egypt. The Jewish people had terrible intention to undermine the freedoms of Egypt. They projected their own evil onto the Jewish people, and therefore believed they had the right to destroy and to undermine the Jewish people, to wipe us out, because what they falsely believed were our intentions to undermine the Egyptian people. And when Moshe Rabbeinu is born, he's called Moshe because he was drawn out of the water. And that represented not only he himself surviving the terrible fate of being thrown into the river and being killed, but drawing out of the river meant that he lived his life to draw the Jewish people out of that frame of mind, that I'm self-sufficient, that I can rely on myself, I don't have to believe in God, a godless society. And not only was he called Moshe because he survived and was plucked out of the river, but Moshe actually implies that he lived his life pulling everybody else out of the river. He lived in order to enable that everyone else would survive the society and the environment and the mindset of the river of Egypt. And so even the destruction of Egypt was not only an intention to allow the Jewish people to survive, to be plucked out of the river, but now the intention was to destroy Egypt, to undermine the capacity of Egypt, to make sure that Egypt would never ever be able to raise its power again. And so it is every time there are enemies of the Jewish people, they suspect that our intentions are evil, that we have a desire to undermine the stability of the world. And for that reason, they can rain terror on the Jewish people. And ultimately, our survival is not just to be able to emerge unscathed, but our intention is to ensure that we pull out everyone else out of the river, and to ensure that the structures of Egypt and the evil that it represents, the powerhouse of Egypt, representing the destruction of our people, is completely dismantled, as it was then with the plagues, and please God, as it will be in every single generation that there's an attempt to destroy us. We will dismantle and destroy the structures and the possibilities and the potential to harm and to hurt the Jewish people. May we all be surrounded by redemption. May all the nefarious intentions of our enemy be transformed, and may they be dismantled so that we never are threatened by adversity again. Have a beautiful Shabbos. May we share simchas. God bless.